We estimated that the channel drove about 356 million sales last year. So I think we're safe to be able to say it's 1 million a day.
You're listening to the Affiliate Marketing Podcast brought to you by AffyVerseMedia.com, the chapter and verse of everything you need to know about running a successful affiliate program for your business. Now, here's your award-winning affiliate and performance marketing host, an industry veteran, your affiliate marketing guide, and the founder of Affyverse, Leanne Johnston.
Ever wondered just how big the affiliate marketing industry really is? Brace yourselves because we're about to drop some mind-blowing numbers that'll make you see this space in a whole new light. In today's episode, we're getting into it with the first ever State of the Nation report for affiliate marketing in the UK. And the figures are nothing short of explosive. We're joined by Kevin Edwards, the driving force behind the APMA, who's about to reveal why affiliate marketing isn't just growing, it's absolutely skyrocketing. And we're talking about 17% year-on-year growth here in the UK. That's outpacing some of the biggest names in tech. But here's the thing, we're barely scratching the surface. Kevin's got the inside scoop on why this industry is primed for more massive expansion. From the rise of influencers to the untapped potential in e-commerce, we're uncovering the secrets that are fueling this phenomenal growth in this episode. This is one episode of the Affiliate Marketing Podcast that you simply cannot afford to miss. You're about to get a masterclass in where this industry is headed and how you can ride this tidal wave of opportunity with us. Welcome to this week's Affiliate Marketing Podcast. And on the show with me today is Kevin Edwards from the APMA. And we've got such an interesting conversation to have today because we've just come back from London after the State of the Nation report release that the APMA has driven for the community. And Kevin, it's a pleasure to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, can you just tell all of our listeners a little bit about who you are, how you've come to found the APMA and run this as a trade organization for the affiliate marketing industry, and just why you have decided to kind of release the State of the Nation report?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I think this is my third appearance, so I like to think I'm not quite veteran status, but getting there. So the Affiliate Partner Marketing Association, we're actually officially a year old this month, October. So 12 months in, felt like quite a fitting time to kind of come out to market with something quite big, which hopefully people feel is quite a significant thing that we did. But generally speaking, we're a trade association for the UK. We're the first and only trade association for the UK, of which Affyverse is a member, which we're very happy to have you guys on board. And amongst our community, there's subscription fees, so there's money coming in, and we basically decide how we're going to spend that money as a not-for-profit. And one of the cornerstone projects that we decided on when we were figuring out what we wanted to do in year one, or generally ongoing, was what was coming through very strongly from member feedback was the need for data, for insights. And really, as an industry, we didn't necessarily know how big we were. So it's very difficult for a trade association to go out and talk about an industry when you don't really know the scope and scale of it. So one of the cornerstone projects that we wanted to do this year was a big research piece where we went out to predominantly networks and platforms and said to them, would you be willing to share your kind of quite sensitive, in some instances, commercial data with us, as well as some other performance metrics, that we can aggregate all of them together? We went out and did a little bit of modeling. So we collated all of that information and then we released a report. But the report isn't just about the numbers, although the numbers are obviously an important part of it. So there's three elements to the report. There's the numbers. The second part is kind of attitudinal approaches to the channel. So really how brands are feeling about the channel, how agencies are feeling about the channel, and also how publishers are feeling about the channel. And then the third part is kind of delving into some of the kind of more macro factors that are impacting the channel. So issues like, and topics like Google and cookies and AI, and how they are impacting the channel, both positively and negative, and where the challenges are, where the opportunities are. So we kind of wanted to capture all three elements of that.
Okay, so that's the where and the why. So let's get into some of the numbers that were shared, because I think it's important to share the numbers, but actually talk about what that means, because a lot of people read a lot of data in our industry. They don't actually know how to take that data and actually implement it, or how to model it or use it to actually improve their businesses. So I'm going to start off with the main highlight of the report, which is basically on the front page. So if you head on over to the APMA's website, you can download the report. You can read all the details in great detail. But for today, the good news, because I think we all need a little bit of good news. It's been a bit of a heavy year, but the good news is actually showing that UK brands spent 1.6 billion on affiliate marketing in 2023. So we collated all of this data. We showed exactly what is happening in the space, which marks a 17% year-on-year growth. And that is phenomenal, because in your address at the event a couple of weeks back, we basically have seen that the UK market has matured to beyond where traditionally we've always thought the US was the biggest kind of stake in our industry. But can you tell us what factors are driving this growth year on year, and also considering some of the economic challenges that we've been facing since kind of like post-COVID? What do you think is actually making this industry grow so quickly?
Yes, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. So, as you say, the growth was very positive. Per capita, we appear to be larger than the US, which is great. I did say US audiences might not necessarily like to hear it, but I did say that I've always felt, working in predominantly in the UK affiliate industry over the years, that we are quite swift at being able to respond to new things coming through. And so I do feel that sometimes new technology comes through that we're able to react to and integrate within the industry a bit quicker, more quickly than the US potentially. We also saw this, so the IAB, the Internet Advertising Bureau, every year released data in April, and we were able to say that we felt that the affiliate channel was outstripping general digital growth, and that we're kind of a similar growth level to some of the big tech companies, some of the ones that grab all the headlines like Meta and Alphabet, that we feel that we're kind of progressing at a similar pace to them. The really difficult question to answer is what's driving that growth, because it's multifaceted. We're a general channel. We deal with lots of different digital marketing disciplines across lots of different sectors. So obviously within that, there's a lot of variance. We captured 3 years worth of data. So we asked for data for 21, 22 and 23. And I know it's quite late to be bringing out 23's numbers, but we basically made a decision, actually, let's have that as our starting point, and then we'll try and turn around the 24 numbers quite quickly next year to have them in the first half of the year. But within those numbers, when you I haven't seen, because I knew networks would be fairly maybe nervous about sharing the data with me, but we hired a consultant to help us out. And so he saw all of the individual rows of data, but I've seen the aggregate figures. And within that, what we're seeing is significant bounce back for travel. I mean, that's not a new story, and also feels like a bit of an old story, because we're way beyond COVID now. But if we're tracking data between beginning of 21 and the end of 23, obviously you've seen that was still COVID era in the early parts. So we've seen travel bounce back by 161% in that time. So obviously travel's driving some of that growth. We are seeing a big surge in content. It feels slightly unsatisfactory to call affiliates content, because everything is content. But by association, what we mean is not cashback, not vouchers, some of those more kind of defined affiliate models. Within that, there's probably an element of social. We did ask people to split out the data by affiliate types, but we've seen a really big surge in influencer coming into the channel, which people kind of have been anticipating, expecting, and there's been a few false dawns on that, I think, where some of that activity came in, didn't quite work for various reasons, wasn't quite the right time. But now I think that is becoming a more established part of our channel. Those two things are converging. The old influencer and the traditional affiliate, they are kind of finally converging. Cashback and loyalty reward continue to be sort of like the real stalwarts of the channel. Collectively, loyalty reward and cashback is the largest segment. If you were to split them out, they wouldn't be. It would still be this sort of content. But I think that's tried and tested. People know that they're reliable channels. People know they get good bang for their buck. People know that people are very engaged by those commercial models. So we're seeing growth generally across all affiliate types. Some are growing more than others. CSS from a quite low point is seeing quite high growth. Tech partners, which is more of a strategic kind of one-on-one rather than one-to-many play, they continue to sort of outperform the market when they're active on programs, but they typically don't work with a huge amount of programs. So there's a lot of opportunity there. On the flip side, if you're kind of looking at it rather than publisher models, if you're looking at advertiser models, we didn't ask for anything other than top line sector. So I can't sort of really drill down and see where by kind of size of companies. But what we do know is that networks have made a really big play for SME business over the years. They've kind of cracked how to sell affiliate to SMEs. and we've seen a huge surge in the number of active advertiser programs. We're only still scratching the surface, really.
I mean, that was quite huge, if I remember, because I think we benchmarked it quite far back, and the growth in number of affiliate programs was phenomenal in the report. And that's a very important point, because I think affiliate managers need to sit up and take note and know that they're not the only program that an affiliate can work with. There's been a massive, I think, influx of businesses wanting to work more in performance, which is why we're seeing this growth across multiple different segments, as you said. But now you're not the only program that an affiliate can work with. So you really need to be doubling down into your relationship building and into your product offering for your program, your commissions, your incentives, your retention, all of the things that make a really good affiliate program work, because the choice is many and it's vast. And to me, that was exciting. The two bits that you touched on, the fact that influencers have infiltrated and now become a significant part of that segmentation mix over the last 3 years. And that is really largely due, I think, to the platforms, Meta, TikTok, all of these platforms enabling content creators to become brands, to become like affiliates. The whole gig economy is supporting the growth of this as well. The tech stuff doesn't surprise me, because as AI is advancing and we're getting new tools and new ways of actually doing things, does make sense for people to double down and leverage those tools in their programs. But as you said, cashback, loyalty, voucher are still the stalwarts of the industry. They still the places where you're going to get your bang for your buck. But you need to be looking outside of that now if you really want to grow and differentiate your program and compete with I don't know why I keep thinking the number was 22,000, but that's a lot of programs. That's a lot of programs for one affiliate to sift through and figure out whether they want to join and actually send their traffic to them.
And that's a challenge for us all, right? I mean, the affiliate channel's never been sort of small in terms of number of players that you can work with, but it's potentially been previously a bit more manageable. But now you're getting into the phases of maybe having to use automated tools, different platforms in order to be able to assimilate all that information. And also it's contingent, I think, on networks. If they're offering thousands and thousands of opportunities, it's contingent for them to do some curation around that as well. Yeah. And that could be manually, or it could be through automated means. And inevitably, all the networks are looking very closely about how to bring in machine learning and AI within their networks to be able to kind of make recommendations to you based around where your strengths are. So it will be the data ultimately it could be the data you give them, which explains who your demographics are, what your audience is like, all of those kind of data points, and they'll be able to do some number crunching and say these are our recommendations. And obviously you won't be fixed according to that, but it will help to kind of sift through, because as you say, we're just seeing more and more. I make a point in the report that in the UK, there's an estimate that there's around about 400,000 e-commerce enabled websites, and those that are running affiliate programs is not even 10% of that. So our addressable audience is huge. Now they are SMEs, but SMEs I also think have, if any kind of small businesses listening, kind of thinking, how do I compete with the big guys? Don't think about competing with the big guys. Play to your strengths. And your strengths are the fact that you're lean, you're agile, you can respond to stuff really quickly. And if you're selling something that's quite niche, you have a very specific audience, and affiliates are brilliant at being able to find specific audiences.
Yeah, I think the kind of like the trend or the fashion of having many partners in a program is kind of coming to an end. Like, you want the partners that actually can bring you the customers. And we all talk about authenticity and making sure that you're doubling down on the partners that are sending you the high volumes. Like, that's not really part of the strategy anymore. Now it's about going to where your customer is through whatever channel they are coming to you from. And that means making sure that you've got a segmented program. And that means working with lots of different affiliates. You can't be putting all of your eggs in one basket anymore, because those affiliates have a choice. So how are you going to make them work with you? And that's really what this report actually showed to me, is we need to be having very clear sales strategies behind our affiliate programs to make sure that these partners choose us, because they have a choice. Now, a lot of all the retail sales in the UK is attributed through the affiliate channel. And there were some crazy numbers that you threw out on the stage about like how many sales are happening every kind of like hour in the UK, which was just phenomenal. In your opinion, how's that success actually been achieved? What role have publishers and brands played in making affiliate marketing such an integral part of the retail sector specifically? Because a lot of the data that came from this report was from e-commerce.
Yeah, one of the stats that we were just short of it, which was slightly frustrating, but I think we can be confident in saying it. Overall, we estimated that the channel drove about 356 million sales last year. So I think we're safe to be able to say it's 1 million a day. Now, that's a huge amount of traffic that's coming through. It's a huge amount of revenue that's coming through. And I'd also made the point last week when we launched, or recently when we launched the report, that what we're seeing happening is whilst we're sat there listening to the research being presented, there are thousands and thousands of new connections being made, right? So this is a kind of vibrant, evolving kind of ecosystem that's complex. There's all of these different relationships. There's so much opportunity out there. But in terms of where some of that growth is coming from is, I also made the point, and something that we asked in our survey was around how affiliates drive sales. So when you classify an affiliate, that's kind of really who they are, right? So you will say top cashback, you're a cashback site, right? That's easy to understand, but that's not. But cashback in and of itself isn't the only way that they're driving traffic and sales, right? They're using top cashback TV ads, they use emails, they've got their website, they've got their app, they've got all, so they're doing paid, they're doing SEO, they've got all of these different channels that they're relying on to drive customers to them initially and traffic to brands ultimately. And one thing that I think has been really powerful over the last few years is how publishers have created their own retail and media brands in their own right. 100%. And it's not now seen as, I remember when I first started working in affiliate, where you had all of these tiny affiliates and no one really knew who they were. And then you have these big brands. And the power differential was huge. And I think what's happened is that's been completely recalibrated. And whilst I'm not hung up on the language that we use, whether we use partner or affiliate, I think that partner does align itself more with an equal partnership. And I think that's where we've got to. And I think that the brands that are doing really well are obviously ticking a number of boxes, but they're the companies that recognize that these are partners that are great brand partnerships for you. They're not just driving sales, they're driving awareness. They're driving promotion, they're driving campaign-led stuff. So they're operating on multiple levels. And I think that has been really fundamental in how the channel has grown over the last few years.
A lot of what I see, though, and I echo your sentiment, is that the brands that are transparent with their top partners and actually drilled really deep into what they're doing, what we're doing, and how we can make that work to the benefit of both of us, without getting too hung up on ROI, attribution, what stage of the funnel is this? Could I have got that sale direct? Where they just partner and watch the numbers. Those are really the brands that grow fastest because the affiliate feels like they're part of that partnership. They don't just feel like they're driving traffic from one place to another.
There are kind of various different things you could use to describe it. Trusted partnership, transparent partnership. But I think another key thing which often gets overlooked, which is also part of the project that we're working on at the APMA to raise awareness of at the very least, is you can't overlook how important paying on time is and paying quickly. And that should be seen as a differentiator by brands as well. If you can turn your payments around to publishers, I think it's easy to forget that certainly if you're an arbitrator, if you take somebody that's a CSS publisher, for example, they're having to buy traffic ongoing and they're having to optimize that spend continuously. And they might be doing a fantastic job at it, but if they're working with a brand that's not paying them very quickly, then they're having to rely on the bank basically saying you're good for the money. And then they're taking a risk or a chance on the off chance that they might get that money at some point. So I don't think we can underestimate how paying faster really helps facilitate and expedite growth in the channel as well.
Now, speaking of growth, the flip side of that is, and I'm very passionate about training. It's why we're here. We want to share knowledge and help uplift the industry. But with this exponential growth of all this money coming into the industry and having to be managed and strategized and all the players that make up the partnership economy, whether it's an agency, an advertiser, publisher, the network, how is this negatively impacting us? Because we're now having to scramble to find resources to support all of this as everything grows. And so there's a distinct lack of really good education. And I know that this is something that we've discussed at the APMA as well, because it's all great that we're growing this industry, but are we actually supporting it properly so that the growth is sustainable? It's not just a one-hit wonder. Yes, we grow this year. Next year we don't because we're grappling to try and find the right people in the right jobs in the right places. So what are your thoughts on some of the things that we need to be looking at as a result of these numbers and actually the kind of market sentiment of where we're at? What do you think brands should be doing right now to kind of educate and train their people and make sure that they are available there to support these affiliates?
I don't think this is a new challenge. I think we've always had it. I think there's always been a knowledge gap. I think that affiliate has tended to attract, and this has been both a deliberate and an accidental thing as well, has tended to attract a lot of graduates in, and that's not a bad thing. But it also means that they're coming in without any kind of world experience or any experience of working in previous companies. That also underpins how important training is from the very first instance, and learning good habits as opposed to bad habits if that's your first job. I mean, training's important to us. We're living in tough times, right? Yes, these numbers are great, but we also know that budgets are heavily under scrutiny and might be being cut. And training can be one of those discretionary things that's a thing that can be cut from budgets quite easily and quite quickly. And obviously, we would say don't do that, but it really is important that that doesn't happen. One of the things that we're trying to do as the APMA is just trying to pump out content. I know you guys push a lot of content out on a regular basis, a lot of guides, a lot of kind of news stories and things like that. We're trying to do the same in terms of trying to we had a big issue this year and it continues to be an issue around GA4. It's still something that is causing a huge amount of headaches. We try to sort of push out guidance and agnostic guides to it, practical solutions for how to deal with this stuff. So I would like to think that the APMA provides a bit of a conduit for that. So we'll be doing some stuff on sub-networks soon, because again, that's becoming a problematic area in some corners of the industry. So I don't know. I know that's not a terribly satisfactory answer to your question.
No, but it's raised the concern that as an industry, we do need to invest in our people. Whether it's internal training sessions, you come to the APMA, you kind of looking at the PXA, whatever it is, but just be learning from people that aren't charlatans, because there's a lot of negative content out there on the internet about affiliate marketing. And
it's a strange one.
You don't want people to be learning from that. You know what I mean? There needs to be like a basis point of like solid content. Where do we go to find best practices about these things that impact the business? So
and there's lots of good information, but some of it's not that easy to find.
But also as the industry, because this is still a very new industry, it's growing at a rapid rate, and we're kind of learning to fly the plane and build it at the same time. But I'd like to see more senior education. Like affiliate marketing is one chapter in a whole digital degree. And yet look at how quickly the industry is growing. We need to get to tertiary education institutions and start to talk about this and educate people about this crazy industry that's just been growing in the background year on year at these crazy numbers, which, you guys are curating, and start to actually build processes for this. Because one day people like me and you are going to leave the industry, and then what? We take our 25, 30 years of knowledge from way back in the beginning with us. And what happens? There's going to be a deficit. So we need to start kind of encouraging people to invest in the longer term.
And one of the things I hope will sort of evolve next year is we were you're a member of the APMA's governance board, and probably about 15 companies that are on that, and from all different walks of the affiliate industry. And we were talking about training, we were talking about graduate schemes, we were talking about educating in universities, because typically there isn't such a thing as a university course, but there also isn't such a thing as an affiliate element to digital marketing courses. And so that again could be one of the roles of the APMA, with let's work with a university, let's work with whoever to be able to devise what that course looks like ultimately. And then that becomes the de facto starting point for people that want to learn about affiliate.
And that'll feed the issues that we have in terms of the fast-growing industry, which means we need resources that are experienced, which means we need to train them. So it's kind of like a flywheel. It has to start as chicken and egg. Which one do we do first? And you can't do everything. You're a not-for-profit organization, and it's like you have to start somewhere. So tell me what you think the future trends are, because now that you've released this State of the Nation report, and everybody, please, I would highly recommend you go and download it off the APMA website. It's free, yes, 100%. And it's very rare that you get that kind of data for free. What do you think 2025 is going to look like? Like, how do we wrap this up and go, the future looks bright. This year's been a little bit difficult. Today, we've just seen that ad world has kind of suspended spend for quarter four, because it's an election year. There's lots of things happening, both here and in the US. What do you think next year is going to look like? History repeats itself. It's cyclical, right? So do you think next year is going to be a growth year? Do you think people are going to be a bit cautious?
Look, we asked in our Advertise, an agency survey, whether people were going to spend more on affiliate next year, and 57% So a majority said that they were going to spend more, and only 3% said they were going to spend less. So let's assume that, generally speaking, budgets aren't going to decrease for the affiliate channel. We kind of know that people see it as a safe place. So even if they're cutting budgets elsewhere, they might go, let's leave that alone, because we know that it's it does what it says on the tin. It consistently drives revenue. It consistently drives really good ROI. So we're kind of, if you kind of look at a risk scale of marketing spend, we're probably towards the risk averse end. So our budget, hopefully that kind of works in our favor. I think it's going to be, I think this year we haven't seen the numbers for this year. We'll obviously get them next year. I think this year we probably, let's be honest, we'll see a slowdown. We won't necessarily see negative growth, but we might see a slowdown in that growth because we've had such high growth the last couple of years. In terms of what's going to happen next year, I think that trend probably will continue. Inflation's come down, which is positive. We still don't really know what's going to happen from a UK perspective. The budget's not that far away now. And also we don't know what's going to happen with interest rates as well, which all of these things, all of these uncertainties means that people tend to kind of sit on money rather than spend it if they have any. We're a safe place to invest, but there isn't necessarily going to be as much money to get to go around. So how does that play out? One thing I would say, which I think always plays to our strength, and it's something that I was very keen to kind of draw out last week when we launched the survey, was that we are very much seen as a place for tech startups, people we're very much seen as like a tech incubator, right? We're a place to be able to come for new tech, to be able to monetize. And if they can do it on a generally CPA basis, then it's a good way. It might not necessarily be that that's ultimately going to be their business model, but it's a good place for them to kind of start, find their feet, test budgets, get off the ground, and add to the diversity of the channel. So I think that because we're sort of continuing to feed that entry point of the channel, that I'm always optimistic that if something falters over here or people want to restrict what they do over there, then there will be something new that's comes through. One has always been one of the strengths of the channel. I think there was a period a few years ago when we were kind of looking around thinking, where's the new stuff coming from? And then all of a sudden we got a surge of tech companies coming in, influencer coming into the space. There was interest from other companies like TikTok about how to monetize their content. So, and then all of a sudden the engine kicked in again and we became that sort of innovating channel. So it's difficult to kind of pin down exactly how I think the year's going to pan out. But in a complex channel where there's so many levers you can pull on, that if one of them maybe falters, then hopefully we can kind of focus in on something else.
That's why segmentation is so important. So get this report and have a look at how that's changed year on year and start making your plans for next year. All right. So I think we've kind of talked a little bit about the report. We've talked a little bit about kind of where we are this year, that we might see a slow, not necessarily a downturn, but just a general slowing, because it's impossible for every channel to grow at double-digit rates as we've seen. But that doesn't mean that we're not investing in this channel still next year. It still seems to be a popular choice because of the payment methods and the performance-based models that we work in. It's been fantastic having you on the podcast for the second time.
Thank you.
You are a veteran in the industry. And I really appreciate you coming to share some of the stats that the APMA pulled together on the State of the Nation report. Stay tuned for more information. Keep up to date with what the APMA is doing. They're doing a lot of great things. As you said, Sub-Affiliate Networks is the next big project, GA4. It's a really good place to come for best practice and guidance. So hopefully you'll all sign up for their newsletters. You'll download that report and start getting ready with your strategies for next year. As always, Kevin, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me this week.
Cheers.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of your affiliate program skyrocketing. Intrigued? Then you need to know about Advertise magazine. This isn't just another industry publication. It's your personal affiliate marketing powerhouse. Imagine having a mentor, a strategist, a productivity coach, all rolled into one sleek square package that sits right on your desk, helping you to grow your affiliate program every single quarter. Advertise magazine is the quarterly toolkit you've been dreaming of. It's packed with cutting-edge insights, expert interviews, and a full promotional calendar brimming with ideas to keep you ahead of the curve. But here's where it gets really exciting. We've included guided planning sheets and goal-setting tools that turn your big ideas into actionable steps. It's like having an accountability partner that never sleeps. Whether you're mapping out your next big campaign or planning your affiliate conference schedule, the Affiverse magazine keeps you on track and fired up. And the best part? This game-changing resource is available to you to download digitally or order in print. But wait, there's more. Join our exclusive club and you'll get the premium print edition delivered to your door every single quarter. Plus, you'll unlock a treasure trove of perks, including live strategy sessions with industry titans and VIP access to our in-person events. Don't let another quarter slip by without the secret weapon in your arsenal. Head to affiversemedia.com, click on the magazine button at the top of the homepage, and order your print copy of the Affiverse magazine today. Your desk, your affiliates, and your business will thank you.